Woohoo! You are a round peg in a square hole. I guarantee it. Well, maybe you aren't now, but for sure you used to be, or you would not have started your business. You would not even have come up with the idea or had the gumption to go ahead and start your business. Of course, a round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole, sometimes they're used interchangeably, means that a person is not suitable for their situation. And it usually applies to a job or an occupation, but it means you don't either have the knowledge, the skills, or maybe the temperament to handle a certain job or a certain position or a certain occupation. Been there, done that, right? I've been in businesses that were awesome for other people, but just didn't feel right for me. They actually were soul sucking for me. I feel that way about certain aspects of the real estate industry, just because it wasn't right for me and my temperament. I remember in college, I was in engineering school and going to my courses, and there were like 4 girls in my engineering class, and so most of the time throughout that 4-year period, we felt out of place, we felt uncomfortable, we felt like we were a round peg in a square hole, although we were going for something we wanted, so we knew we were in the right place for us. Sometimes when we're just starting out with something, we're doing something new or different, like when we started our businesses in the first place, we felt like we didn't belong. But as we got more adept, we mastered different skills and abilities, we did things, we tried things, we succeeded, and we failed at some and succeeded at others, we felt like we fit in. We felt like we weren't a round peg in a square hole. We felt like we were a round peg in a round hole. At least that's been my experience. There's still things, whenever I start something new, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like, oh my gosh, I suck at this. But I know that if it feels right to me to be moving in that direction and I keep practicing it, that I'll get better at it. And once I master it, I shape myself and change myself and my business to fit the situation, the industry, so that I don't feel like a round peg in a square hole anymore. So, where does this idiom come from anyway? How long has it been around? Well, since at least the 1800s, people have been using this expression to describe people that they think just don't fit in or aren't right for the position that they're in. I remember in corporate America, I spent over a quarter century in corporate America working for some of the biggest corporations, and actually all different sized companies, but some of the biggest corporations on the planet. And I remember sitting in meetings. We always had, whatever level in the organization you were in, we had at least weekly meetings. Sometimes we had daily meetings, depending on what function you were in. I remember sitting in on some of those meetings and thinking, what is wrong with me that I think so differently than the people that are in this meeting and that are in this company and the discussion we're having? Because throughout my lifetime, from the time I was 13 on, I always had my own kind of business on the side. I always had some kind of a business. So in addition to being an employee in corporate America, I was also a business owner in a lot of different businesses over the years. But I always had some business on the side. And so I looked at the situation, whatever it was, from a different perspective. I could see the management and the ownership side of it, but I could also see the employee side of it because I was an employee there, but I also owned my own businesses. So I always had the business owner's mentality, a cap of way of thinking. And most of the people in the organization didn't have that perspective at all because they'd been employees for their entire life. They had always worked for someone else. And there is definitely a mindset difference. So I always felt like I was this round peg in a square hole when I was in corporate America, which I'm sure is part of the reason that I finally made the choice to, exit that part of my life and focus just on my own businesses. Geez, back in 2004 now, so that's been a long time. So what do you do with this? You know that you didn't fit into something else, but here's the cool thing about having a business, having your own business. You get to shape it so that it fits you. Instead of you going to an organization and finding a place where you fit, you get to create the fit for yourself. So often we find ourselves in situations like 2/3 of the population right now is finding themselves in a situation that we don't feel like we fit in. A third of the population, and I'm just rounding this off, about a third of the population's businesses and life has been shut down. People have their businesses have just been shut down, or their jobs have just been lost virtually overnight, right? And we're home with our kids, home with our grandkids, we're home doing things, or we're working from home, right? A third of the population is working from home, so they're still doing their job, but in a different capacity, in a different way. And again, when we start something new, it feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like we fit right until we change and morph and figure out what works for us and make sure that it is a good fit. I spent a lot of years doing things that I thought I should do, and I believe now that whenever we are doing something we think we should do, based of course on other people's opinions, not on necessarily our own or what feels right to us, we feel like a round peg in a square hole. This can apply to any aspect of our life, not just our businesses. But thank goodness, celebrate that you are a round peg in a square hole, because if it weren't for you, you wouldn't have started your business. You wouldn't be involved in a business of your own. You wouldn't have stepped out and led. Leaders are round pegs in square holes for a reason, because they're here to step out and lead the rest of the world to success, or to a better world, I like to think. So I'm celebrating that you are a round peg in a square hole, or that you were, and now you're moving into and building what you want to see in the future, because it's going to be up to business owners and entrepreneurs to create the economic recovery that we all need in not only America but in the world. So I applaud you and thank you for being you, and I'm excited. I forgot how much I like this expression, maybe because I can relate to it so much, but it's been a fun expression. I've definitely used it to describe myself and other people. You know, whenever the kids were learning something new and we're frustrated and we're struggling, I'm sure we've discussed this little lesson of life. But again, it's whenever there's an idiom or an expression or a word that we've used and applied meaning to, because guess what? It's up to us to apply the meanings that we want to anything, to words, expressions, experiences. We get to decide what all of them mean. So you can feel bad about being a round peg in a square hole, or you can celebrate it. I say let's celebrate it and create the lives that we want. That's it. That's our idiom for today. Go out and have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, let me know. Otherwise, share in the comments below your experience with round peg in a square hole. Take care.